So, my name is Jocelyn Hurtado, and I'm the archivist at the Black Archives History and Research Foundation of South Florida. And this is part of our Safer at Home series. The Black Archive has different programs lined up throughout the week where members of staff talk about a certain topic, and their segment is specialized regarding certain themes. And mine is called Is It True? Tales from the Magic City. And today, I'm going to be talking about, is it true that Muhammad Ali actually spent quite a bit of time here in Miami? And I'm going to get into that story in just about a minute. But yes, I'm going to be talking about his time in Miami, his preparation for his big heavyweight title fight in 1964. And I'm also going to show you a little bit of a lot of articles. So please excuse me if I'm going to try to pronounce all the right boxing terminology, and I'm also going to try to make it as captivated as possible, but please excuse me. Boxing is not really my niche, but I'm going to try to really paint a really vibrant, colorful picture. So, let's begin. So, is it true that Muhammad Ali spent quite a bit of time here in Miami? And this comes from, over the years, there are stories that have come out how Muhammad Ali actually trained in Miami and actually stayed in the Overtown Liberty City community in the basically time leading up to his big heavyweight title fight of 1964. And I actually want to backtrack a little bit and actually give you a little bit of biographical information on Muhammad Ali. So Muhammad Ali was actually born Cassius Clay, January 17th, 1942. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and he was actually named after I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit tongue-tied. So he was actually named after a slave master. So give me a second. So he was actually named after 19th century Republican politician and staunch abolitionist Cassius Marcius Clay, but he later changed his name to Muhammad Ali because he said he wanted to get rid of his slave name. But it's interesting that his father named him that name, and this abolitionist name, the original abolitionist Cassius Marcius Clay, was actually from the state of Kentucky as well. And Cassius Clay's paternal grandparents were John Clay and Sally Ann Clay, and his great-great-grandparents were actually slaves. So here we go. And now I'm going to talk to you about how he ended up coming to Miami. So after he participated in the 1960 Olympics, he was on a quest to become the new heavyweight title holder of the world, champion of the world. And he decided that he wanted to box Sonny Liston. So let me just pull up that article, because this is all leading up to the 1964 Muhammad Ali Sonny Liston fight at the Miami Beach Convention Center. And give me 1 second. So, hold on, I don't want to turn away from the camera, but let me bring up this article. So, I actually found 2 newspaper clippings from the Miami Times newspaper article that were published in February 1964. So, give me 1 second. I'm going to publish this. Okay, so this one was actually published, hold on. Okay, this one was actually published after his big fight. So it says, give me 1 second. This was actually published February 29th, 1964, so 4 days after his big fight, and this was featured in the Miami article. It says, our new champ, the one and only Cassius Clay, loudmouth and somewhat amusing, is now world heavyweight champion. He did what he said that he would do. He won the heavyweight boxing title from the great champ, Sonny Liston. The fight was witnessed by around 8,297 fans at the Miami Beach Convention Center, and thousands heard it over the radio. And I actually found another newspaper article that was published a much later time that details how he would trained for this fight by jogging from the streets of Overtown all the way down the Julia Tuttle Causeway, and basically ran all along Miami Beach. And that a lot of the colored residents who knew Muhammad Ali, they wanted to join, but at that time, due to Jim Crow laws, if you're a person of color, they would need an identification card in order to cross over. And so a lot of his fans and black fans were not allowed to join him in his training. But I thought that was a pretty interesting note. And I have a comment here. It says he purchased a home Northwest 15th Avenue, 47th Street in Alapata. He later opened Champ Burger restaurant on the corner of Northwest 17th Avenue and 62nd Street. Oh, that's really interesting. While I was doing my reading, I did not come across that, but I did come across an article stating when he bought his home in Liberty City, and how he actually cherished the community there. That at that time, before his 1964 fight, he was not as big as a celebrity than what prompted him after, and he was known to be walking down the street, hanging out with the neighbors, and he was very persistent of staying in the Overtown neighborhood, in the color community, because nothing has changed. So just like he was just like any other person. So I'm just going to continue with the 1964 fight, and then I'm going to get into a little bit about his life in Miami. So give me 1 second. But if you have more information, please feel free to comment. And if you want to join this chat, JHD Inc., please send me a request. I would love to talk to you about Muhammad Ali, especially if you're a really big fan. Interactive conversations are always the best. So if you want to join, send a request. I'll be more than happy to add you. So okay. It says Clay surprised for the protagonist Gators and everybody when Liston failed to come out for the 7th round, claiming his shoulder was injured in the 1st round. Champ Cassius Clay was like a wild man, overjoyed, and he declared, "I'm the king." Discussing the fight 10 minutes before starting bell, YE editor remarked to the fan that he would go along with the underdog for at least 6 rounds. That was it. To everybody's surprise, the fight ended after the 6th round. And okay, I have another comment. Says from Mr. Oscar Brainerd. He also opened Champ Burger on Strickland Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. That's cool. I'm wondering, did you guys try the burgers? I'm a big fan of burgers. I wonder, were they good? Was there a special on the menu, recipe or order? If you know, please let me know, because I wonder if they had any names associated with his boxing career or anything like that. So please drop a comment, because I'm interested to know that. So give me 1 second. So that was from the February 29th Miami Times article. And then also in that article, there's actually a picture of him that was published. And it says, he is the greatest, unlike Roman Cassius Marcellus Clay, poet, orator, heavyweight king. He greater, of course, by now you know that Louisville braggart took advantage of Sonny Liston Tuesday and lifted his prize title. Now Tonsil has the world in the ditcher. Okay, that's fine, Mr. Brainerd, that you don't remember the menu. But I wonder if the burgers was good. But I'm going to show you this picture of Muhammad Ali. So this is published by the same article in the Miami Times, February 29th, 1964. And give me 1 second, I'm going to flip the camera. Alright. So here he is. He's wearing a Roman crown helmet. And yeah, he's wearing a Roman crown helmet. And I actually want to show you a better picture of Muhammad Ali. This is from part of the collection that we have here in the Black Archives. And here you have it. Prior to him fighting Sonny Liston, he actually spent a long time in the 5th Street gym, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. And he spent quite a lot of time here in Miami training. So this is him, a picture of him. And in the back, oh look, okay. So it says, okay, I'm so excited that you guys are commenting. I'm back. I'm sorry, guys. My connection is a little bit wonky, but we'll work with it. So I'm going to switch the camera around, and then I'm going to go back to this picture, but I'm going to switch the camera around because I see you guys left a couple of comments. It says, GHD Inc. actually says, yes, it was 100% beef, cooked fries, and vegetable oil, and of course there was a champ burger. I love, like, when, like, artists or, like, athletes have, like, their menu customized. I love puns. And then Miss Brina says, it was bigger than a Whopper. Well, I bet so, because if you've seen the Whoppers and the Big Macs nowadays, they're, like, really tiny burgers and things like that. And then we also had GH Inc. says, as a child, I remember going to the grand opening. I imagine that must have been quite an event. And do you remember if it's before or after the 1964 fight? I'm interested to know. My bet was probably after the 1964 fight, because that's when he became really well known. He was already well known, of course, as an Olympian, but you know, imagine after the 1964, there was a lot more attention on him after. Okay, cool. All right. So yes, and then let me just bring up a couple more articles. Okay. And so I want to read you a piece of the article that talks about his life here. And this was actually, this piece of information comes from Johnny Pacheco, who was his fight doctor. He lived in Miami. He was of Cuban descent, and he worked with Muhammad Ali in most of all of his big fight. And Johnny Pacheco actually had a clinic in Overtown. Unfortunately, the clinic was burned during the 1980 riots, but Pacheco is able to recall his Muhammad Ali's time here, and he's able to make a little bit more intimate comments since he knew him personally. And it says, give me 1 second, I'm gonna flip the camera, and then I'm gonna talk to you about it. I'm sorry, Freddie Pacheco. Sorry about that. His name was Freddie Pacheco. So it says, all right, so give me one thing. It says, he purchased school buses for the school. My siblings and I attended it in the early 1970s. What school was that? I would love to know what school was that. And okay. So here in the Miami, this is a Miami Herald article that was published in 2004. It says that the first time that he met Ali was at the lounge of the Mary Elizabeth Hotel in Overtown, and that he ordered a big pitchers of water, ice water. He always had people surrounding him, and he always stated that he was going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. And people would say, no, I don't think so. But he said that he really was going to do it. And it also recounts how Ali used to jog up and down the streets, and everybody would stop working and run out to see him. And it also says, give me 1 second. Okay. All right. And it also says, this is basically also going over, like I said earlier, that back then a lot of the fans were did not follow him on his jog to Miami Beach because they needed an identification card, and not everybody had an identification card. And give me 1 second. And that you know, he was he freaking in Overtown. Here there's another story of how he this is a story from Sonny Ambrister, who's a local barber in Overtown, and he said that Ali would go there and get his hair cut, and that he insisted that they pay $15, and it was only, you know, to touch up their neck. But back then the haircut was only $1, and Mr. Ambrister actually told Ali, saying that he that he was not going to charge him anything. But after he became a champion of the world, that he was like, after he became a champion of the world, then he was going to start charging him. He was going to charge him $10 per cut. But what happened after he became champion of the world, he actually, Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, actually gave him $500, and the money sifted down, and he did not get any more, but they were still all right. So he gave him $500, and that accounted for, you know, the future times that he got his haircut. And it says, also during Mr. Ambrister recalled that Ali started rhyming after he started coming around the top shop. Rhyming was something we all did at the time. We could make rhymes out of anything, and he was amused and fascinated. He said, man, I gotta get this thing going. This is gonna be my gimmick. He was not rhyming before he came to the shop. So Muhammad Ali is known for, I guess you can call it a famous rhyme, a famous quote. Can anybody quote it? Can anybody quote it? And if, you know, Mr. Ambrister says that, you know, before Muhammad Ali came to the shop, he didn't see him rhyming or anything. So maybe you can say Miami, it should be credited for, you know, the inspiration of his famous quote. And if anybody can drop down in a comment, what was his famous quote? You know, it's known worldwide. So, and what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you a picture of Muhammad Ali outside the 5th Street gym. Okay. All right. So it says, GHD Inc. says, Muhammad University of Islam, number 29. He was so larger than life. And then Javo, you got the quote right. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So, you know, maybe he came up with that while he was getting his hair trim in Mr. Ambrister's shop. And I see that GHD Inc. said he and my parents were good friends. And Muhammad Ali, even after he moved away from Miami, he frequently still came back to the community. And we actually have a picture of him in another collection, the Clarence Edward collection. Clarence Edward was a local political affiliate. He counseled a lot of the big politicians here in Miami, and his collection is amazing. And I'm thinking, like, either myself or the assistant archivist, we're going to probably do a deep dive into that collection because it's so fascinating. But housed within that collection is a picture of Muhammad Ali, you know, with Clarence Edwards at his house, and his house is in Model City, and this must have been like around the 70s and 80s. So yeah, you know, Muhammad Ali was he was close to various members of the community, and I'm so happy to hear that he and your parents were really good friends. And if you have any personal stories or any tidbit information, you know, please feel free to drop a comment. I love that you're here. I love that you're watching this, because there's so much information that we're receiving. For example, the champ burgers, and you know, that you remember that the beef was cooked fresh, the fries were fresh, cooked in vegetable oil, and there was champ burger. So thank you for tuning in. Okay, so I'm gonna flip the camera around and I'm gonna show you the pictures. And like I always said, this is why, you know, and I encourage everybody, if you want to learn more information, please, you know, you can do this online. A lot of the newspapers are digitized. And if, like always, and once the Black Archives is open, you can come to our research center and check out our collection. But let me show you the picture of Muhammad Ali outside the 5th Street gym. So, and this is from the 1970s. All right. This is the picture of Muhammad Ali. And one of my favorite pictures of Muhammad Ali that I found while I was doing this research is the picture that came out on a newspaper where he is, oh, here he is. He's with the Beatles. He is with the Beatles. And I'm gonna see if you can, okay. He's with the Beatles, and you know, they're a big fan of his, and this is after his fight. And here you see Muhammad Ali, back then known as Cassius Clay, and the Beatles. And here's a picture of his fight doctor, Freddie Pacheco. So he was actually, interesting fact, Freddie Pacheco was a really good painter, and he had his own art studio and gallery, and he painted a lot of images of Muhammad Ali. So this is Mr. Pacheco. And then Mr. Pacheco also says that he thinks he was it was one of the happiest period in Ali's life when he was here in Miami. He still didn't have the responsibility of being the world champion. He had he was like a favorite son. Everybody loved him. It says at his workout at Fifth Street Gym, Ali drew 4 fans to every one for listen. Ali give you your money's worth. He trained hard. He'll stop and talk to you for half an hour, and that half an hour was gold. It got to be, I wonder what celebrity is going to show up today. The Beatles showed up one day, and I said at his camp, listen with Shirley, the first thing he said to the public was, I don't know why I'm training so hard. I'm going to knock this chump out in 1 round. Oh boy, was he wrong. So yes. So for those of you who are tuning in, I'm talking about Muhammad Ali's time in Miami. And this is a picture in the Miami Herald that shows Muhammad Ali and the Beatles after his 1964 fight. And now I'm going to show you. So this actually talks about the actual fight. Okay. It says... Alright, it says, on February 25th, 1964, Muhammad Ali fought champion Sonny Liston for the heavyweight title. And it says, for Ali's trainer, it remains an unforgettable fight night. And then this article was written by Angelo Dundee and is told by Steve Satterwhite. It says, the Liston fight was such happening. Good God Almighty. 2 weeks before the fight, Bill McDonald, who was the fight co-promoter with my brother Chris, wanted to cancel the fight. He had read in the paper that Ali, then Cassius Clay, said that he was a Muslim. Although Ali would not make his conversion official until after the fight, newspaper had already begun to report that he had been with Malcolm X in the Nation of Islam gatherings. And I'm going to turn the camera around. And okay, so this is actually a question I have for one of our viewers, if you're still with us, GHD. So I've read and I've heard stories over the year that, you know, when Cassius Clay, now known as Muhammad Ali, met Malcolm X at the Hampton House, and that it was during his time here in Miami that he converted to Islam in, you know, because of his influence with Malcolm X. And I wondered if you had any information, being that you mentioned that he donated, that he donated one of the school bus to, I'm sorry, let me get the right name of he donated a school bus for the Muhammad University of Islam chapter number 29. So I wonder if you had any information about that, because over the years I've heard that because of his meeting with Malcolm X and they were all hanging out at the Hampton House, you know, it led to him his conversion to the Nation of Islam. So it says, my brother reminded me he often attended the Overtown Mosque that was located right where Metro Rail tracks run on Northwest 11th Street. All right. That's such an interesting piece of information, and I'm actually going to look into that because I did not know there was a mosque in Overtown. I was trying to do research, and I've been I've looked at the old pictures of Overtown, but I never found any images of a mosque. I found images of several churches and other temples of different religion and different denominations, but I never found an image of a mosque. But I'm gonna look into that. So I'm gonna get back to you. So follow up on us in a follow-up episode. Okay. So. And it's also to say that, you know, Miami played an important, like, Muhammad Ali's time in Miami, you know, highlighted a couple big moments from his career. For example, the 1964 Sonny Liston fight, his conversion to Islam, when he announced that he was not gonna he was not going to follow the draft note for the war. And so, you know, it was all done here in Miami. So Miami played a big important role in Muhammad Ali's early years, especially in his early 20s. So it says, Let's see. And then this, I'm going to continue off this paragraph where it says that they wanted to cancel the fight because he was a Muslim. And it says, McDonald called me after the office. You better tell this kid to say that he's not a Muslim. They were selling the fight as a tough guy against the good kid. But all of a sudden you got a bad guy against a Muslim, and the people didn't even understand what that meant. What can you do with that? You got a guy you don't understand against a tough guy. Where's the attraction? Then the kid came to see me right in the office, and he said, "And looks like there's not going to be a fight. McDonald wants me to say I'm not a Muslim, but I am a Muslim, and I'm not going to do it." McDonald relented, and the fight went on. Muhammad Ali made a lot of commotions in the weigh-in, screaming at Liston. First pretending he was scared to death of Liston, then pretending he was going to kill him. People said that he had to push him back, but all I did was push my little finger on his chest. It was make-believe that I was holding him. He would have been a great actor. He fooled the officiating doctor completely. The doctor was talking in terms of canceling the fight. He thought the kid was scared to death at the weigh-in, but it was all show. At the end, I grabbed Ali. I grabbed Freddie Pacheco, and we grabbed the kid and got him out of there over to his house in Northwest Miami. 20 minutes later, he was sitting on his stoop playing with a bunch of kids like nothing ever happened, cool as a cat. Ali could have been a cinnamon man because he could have turned it on and off just like that, just like a flip of a light switch. So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right. And here I'm actually going to show you a couple images of Sonny Liston. He was training for the fight, and like it was said, because of Muhammad Ali's charismatic personality, he had a lot more fans show up to see him train. So, but I also want to show you a picture of Sonny Liston, because Sonny Liston, you know, he's also an athlete, and I imagine it was a tough fight for Sonny Liston, and it was promoted that he was going to be the eventual winner, but you know that turned out to be the big upset of the night. So. Okay, here is Sonny Liston. All right, and then I'm gonna show you this is a picture of Muhammad Ali and his fight doctor, Freddie Pacheco. All right. And then it goes and talks about the fight, how he's Muhammad Ali studied Liston. He saw him knock out Floyd Patterson in Chicago after round 1. After that fight, Liston put his arms around Ali and said, "Son, don't you get hurt now because we're going to make a lot of money together." Ali just says, "Hey man, you're crazy." Both of us felt like we were going to walk away from the Liston fight with a champion. That Ali was going to beat him because certain people beat certain people. I knew Ali's style. He was going to mess up Liston. My guy was elusive, side to side and out. Certain style beat certain style. From the first round, our game was to keep popping, keep popping. And Ali hit Liston with a good right, and early on, everybody said Ali couldn't punch, but he could punch. He hit you with punches that you couldn't see. He was even heavy. He was a heavy haymaker kind of puncher, but he busted up Liston's cheek fairly early. Everything was going very well until Ali went blind. After the 4th round, Muhammad could not see. I sat him down and put my finger in his eyes, and then put the same finger in my eye, and it burned. So I got the sponge and started washing his eyes out, and had been rubbing alcohol on Liston's shoulder. And then the cut man took care of the cut in his cheek by using Monsa solution, a caustic that is banned now. That guy might have put his head on Liston's shoulder in the clinch, or he might have rubbed his forehead in the right in the solution. This was not a deliberate dirty trick. It just happened. The idea widely circulated after the fight that it was deliberate. It was not, it was BS. So it talks more and more about the fight, and I'm gonna put some of these articles up on our page so you guys can look at it. And of course, all credit goes to the Miami Herald. And I also want to show you a picture of him training. And then pictures of the fight. I think this is the most well-known picture of the fight. All right. And there's a lot of articles that talks about Muhammad Ali's time here, and I just want to show you a couple more pictures. And then these are a couple newspaper articles, different newspaper article from different sources that talks about Cassius Clay's Muhammad Ali. And a little known fact is that he was a poet. So you can also say this is rhyming, but just instead of rhyming, you're writing it down. And then he wrote this. Okay, so he wrote this by Jones and Six. And then this is another boxers, and then he wrote about Sonny too. So I'm going to read you Sonny since we've been talking about him. And it says, to whom it may concern, for all those people who will learn the greatest fighter of them all, it is Cassius Clay who makes them fall. He is strong, he is strong and very fast. The fights he fights never last. Liston is big, Liston is tough, but to beat Cassius Clay isn't enough. The men say Liston fought, he have to have say. None were as good as young Cassius Clay. In the fight everything goes. Where Liston will fall, only Cassius Clay knows. The only man who deserves the crown, he is Cassius Clay, the greatest around. Charles Sonny Liston is now the king. But this will change when Clay is in the ring. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. But Sonny Liston, it will be all. It says the fight with Clay will try to be stalled because Cassius rounds are always called. They said that it was awful for Liston to fight Clay, but Cassius remarked, I'll put the bum away. Charles Sonny Liston was pretty good, but after the fight only one man stood. This was the man who was now on the crown. He is Cassius Clay who put old Liston down. Charles Sonny Liston stayed off his feet because he knew he met defeat. The reference had counted Sonny out. Now he admits that Clay packs a clout. For Sonny Liston there was no talking. There'll be no talking, for he is lucky that he is walking. Now Clay, there is another call. You'll hear him say, the bum must fall. So yeah, so he was quite a poet. And this was actually published in the Miami News, March 3rd, 1964. So this is a year before the fight. Okay, so I'm going to flip this camera around. All right, and so yeah, so this is about it for my segment. I just want to give you a little bit more information about Muhammad Ali's time in Miami. So he did have a house in Liberty City, and I believe GHD Inc. says that he owned a house in Alampata. He also trained in the Fifth Street Gym, and he was known to frequent a lot of the business. And before I go, I actually want to read to you one little thing that I found really interesting, and it was about another local local resident comment on Muhammad Ali during his time here. And it says, give me 1 second. Give me a second, let me just pull this up. Okay, so I see another comment. It says, as for his converting to Islam, I don't know that piece of history. We lived in New York. That's fine. I was just curious. And it says, I love his fight in Africa, the thriller in Manila. So, that's pretty cool. So if you guys are interested in like this segment, look into that. There's a lot of great documentaries regarding Muhammad Ali, and actually the Black Archives, a lot of filmmakers, a lot of documentaries are being made on Muhammad Ali and specific to his time here in Miami. And a lot of these researchers have used and are using the Black Archives repository as as a way to look for primary source and documentation. So it is one of the most frequent things that we are asked for in the Black Archives regarding pictures of Muhammad Ali in his time here in Miami. The Miami Times collection, photographic collection, has a couple images of Muhammad Ali, and we also have a lot of newspaper articles that were published during that time. And so okay, so this is another comment before I go, and I wrap up this segment. It says, so this is about Muhammad Ali, and he actually says back then, the pool room still located on Northwest 2nd Avenue between Northwest 2nd Avenue between 9th and 10th Street belonged to Overtown's nightclub impresario Clyde Killings. He said, "I saw Ali here several times one day. Ali came here and shot pool with Jackie Gleason. Before Burger King came out about the chain originated in Miami, Ali was always talking about getting to the eating establishment." So I saw this while I was talking about another newspaper article, and I noticed this, this is bringing that connection to his burger shop. And it says, so he was associated for a while with a place on Northwest 17th Avenue just off 62nd Street that sold a thing called a champ burger. Those champ burgers would put Burger King to shame. And then this is from Tyrone Slim Dauberson, Overtown resident. And so yeah, so I was reading this when I was looking at one of the pictures, and I thought, isn't this great? At this very moment, there's a connection between his burger restaurant and then the newspaper article. So yeah, so thank you all for joining. I hope you like this segment, and if you want me to talk about another topic, please drop a comment, leave a comment, any suggestion. Tune in tomorrow for Today in Black History with Alicia Melton, where she's going to be talking about a moment in Black history. And then on Wednesday is Jeopardy Noir with the executive director Timothy Barber. On Thursday is Legacy, Profile, and Greatness. Friday is the virtual field trip, and on Saturday is Storytime in Color. So these are all very educational, informative sessions, and I please join. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave us a message, or if not, DM us. All right, so I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and thank you for joining in and tuning in, and goodbye.